see them about that. They said that, I won't let them in. Well, they can still get in there right now, but we can
draw that line where my kids get there.
yeah.
East and west.
Well, you know, it's
That's
just,
a word all the time.
well, no, well, I think what we're going to do, we don't do something about that. We're not going to put kids in that are in the senior system. The kids are in the pipeline, aren't going to be allowed to go in there. There won't be room there for them. That's my thought. You know, because there's no more room at Dale Farm. So if we keep getting these kids, even though they've been promised always, they're not going to get there.
You know, Butler's got, they got to do a good job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have a lot of people.
Yeah.
Be jumping on it.
Yeah, Butler. My kids and grandkids were the man.
I mean, I'm working across the street anyway.
My kids were in busing pain, they were sent to man. They're supposed to go on the dirt and try to get that principal that she can't think of. She wanted to tell me about it. What do you look like?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if there would be an easier way for her.
Well, no, he was 94 when I knew him.
No, that's not. We'll just meet up here. I just said, me coming back here, how does this works out fine. It's fine. We'll meet, yeah. We'll meet here.
Gave me a pen.
I was just trying to figure out a place that might be closer to you. So, because when I come in, when we come back, that way we don't have to come all the way here. Because see, I just go over to Milltown Road. There's a place on Butte. Well, I'll be actually coming all the way tonight or by so I don't know. Well, yeah. Because see, that when I come back, right, now I'll probably meet you. I'll meet you right 4:30. Okay. But that way when I come back, I can just go there and
I'd like to welcome you to the October 28th meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Education. Prior to this meeting, the board participated in a work session on the equity scorecard, and we had members of our community that were a part of that session. So we'd like to thank staff and the community members that were a part of that to thank them for being there tonight. We start our meeting with a traditional moment of silence as we focus on the work of the district. So if you could please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Highland Middle School student Sonny Podbelsic will lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance. Sonny, would you please come forward at this time? Please stand for the pledge. Thank you so much for doing that for us tonight. At this time, Board Member Debbie Westland will read our vision statement. Ms. Westland.
Okay, our vision statement is this. All JCPS students graduate prepared to reach their full potential and contribute to our society throughout life.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes. We have minutes from October 14th board meeting and October 22nd minutes. Is there a motion to approve October 14th and 22nd? Mr. Brady, second. Ms. Westland, all those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We now move on to recognitions and resolutions. Ms. Terry Robinson.
Dr. Hargens, Board Chair Diane Porter, and members of the Jefferson County Board of Education, Tonight, we are proud to begin with the recognition of Sunny Paubelsek, an artistic and talented student at Highland Middle School. She won first place honors in the middle school category in the Kentucky Personnel Cabinet's Public Service Recognition Poster Contest. Sunny was formally recognized by Lieutenant Governor Jerry Abramson at a ceremony held this month in Frankfort. She was also presented with a $100 award. Sunny was one of more than 2,700 students from across Kentucky who submitted entries for the poster contest. Students were required to create a poster around the theme, State Employees, Making a Difference Every Day in Every Way. The contest was created to provide an opportunity to increase awareness among youth about the achievements and contribution of state employees in the workplace and the communities. Board Chair Diane Porter, please come forward to extend congratulations to Sunny. Joining in the recognition is her principal, Steve Heckman. Sunny's mom is here with us tonight. If you will please stand from your chair to be recognized, please. Thank you. Next, it is our pleasure to recognize two district teachers who have set the standard for teaching excellence. Angela Pleasant, a teacher at Farmer Elementary School, and Rita Crone, a teacher at Atherton High School, are two of 24 Kentucky teachers selected as recipients of the 2014 Ashland Incorporated Teacher Achievement Award. They were honored and presented with cash awards and certificates during an award ceremony held this month at the State Capitol Rotunda in Frankfort. Governor Steve Beshear, Commissioner of Education Terry Holliday, and Ashland's Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Jim O'Brien presented the awards. Board Chair Diane Porter, please congratulate Rita Crone. Joining in the recognition is her principal, Dr. Tom Aberly. Board member Chris Brady, please come forward to congratulate Angela Pleasant. Joining in the recognition is her principal, Shannon Conlon. We are honored to have Dr. Tony Zippel, President and CEO, Gwen Cooper, Vice President of External Affairs, Judge David Holton, Keith Overpeck, Kevin Gunn, and John Barron, board members from 7 County Services, here to present the Jefferson County Public School District with its Sunrise Award. The district is being presented with the award for its collaboration, great work, and leadership on the Louisville Linked Initiative, a coordinated effort between JCPS and community-based service providers to link each child and family with structures and services so they get these resources they need to achieve academic success. Dr. Carol Montgomery, Assistant Superintendent for Academic Support Programs, and Dr. Carol Bartlett, Director of Family Resource and Youth Service Centers, have been instrumental in this collaborative partnership. Judge David Holton, please come forward to present the Sunrise Award. And joining him will be the representatives from 7 County Services. And we also would like to ask Dr. Hargens, Board Chair Diane Porter, Dr. Carol Montgomery, and Dr. Carol Bartlett, and Dr. Hensley to please come forward to be presented with the award.
Madam Chairman, Madam Chairperson, excuse me, members of the school board, Dr. Hargens, and guests, I'm David Holton, Chairman of the Board of Directors of Seven County Services, the largest provider of behavior and mental health services to in this region. For 8 years now, the Board of Directors of Seven County Services has presented its Sunrise Award to an individual or organization that collaborates and cooperates with Seven County Services in its effort to build a community by helping individuals and families to overcome their struggles with mental illness, intellectual disabilities, addictions, and abuse to reach their full potential. Tonight, the Board of Seven County Services is happy to present the 2013 Sunrise Award to Dr. Hargens, Dr. Dewey Hensley, and the entire Jefferson County Public Schools for the work that they are doing and to collaborate with us at Seven Counties to help us meet our mission. There are 3 areas in which the school board has collaborated with Seven Counties, 3 that we'll point out tonight at least. I'm sure there are many others in the last year to work with Seven Counties through the Bingham Fellows Program, helped identify the Louisville link to make sure, Dr. Hargens, that the families and students in this county were able to access the services that already exist, but this helps the families and the students to identify those services and to help bring them to our homes. The second way was through a pilot project with Learning RX, through a grant from the Gaines Academy, a $100,000 grant. Seven counties, in cooperation with Dr. Hensley and the school board, have placed the Learning RX pilot project in 2 schools, Atkinson Elementary and Portland Elementary. Learning RX is a recognized and established program to work with students who have academic challenges, to try to change their behaviors and to try to affect other factors that are proven to be indicators of success in school. And we're very proud to work with these 28 students at Atkinson and Portland, and we're going to be able, Dr. Hargens, to see results, because these are the 28 kids who are working with this program, and hopefully we'll find good results when this all comes to fruition. The third program is the one that's nearest to my heart, and that is our mental health programs that we bring to the Jefferson County Public Schools. We are in over 120 schools in this county. And when Dr. Hargens, I first met Dr. Hargens almost 2 years ago now. We was invited to participate in a truancy summit on the male campus. And after the program, I found Dr. Hargens and Brent McKim and said, I want to talk to you, Dr. Hargens, about a vision that I have to see that we get as many behavioral health services in our schools as possible. I got back to the courthouse, and I already had an email from her secretary saying, when can Dr. Hargens come and see you? It went many days before Dr. Hargens drove herself to the courthouse and walked in, and I said, oh, my Lord, if I'd known you doing this, I would have come to you, okay? But Dr. Hargens sat down and said, what do you see? What do you think, David? And I said, right now, the schools, the principals, some of them are rejecting the effort of Seven Counties to come in and provide services for the students. And it's my belief that a student can only learn if he or she are prepared to learn. And that's a holistic approach, not just books in the classroom, not just wonderful teachers, Mr. McKim, but also to be prepared to work through the challenges they have, whether it be a broken home, or whether it be poverty, whether it be behavior issues. I volunteered my time to go to both Pleasure Ridge Park and Valley High School to work with truancy court. And most of the students I work with in this truancy diversion program, have behavioral health issues and are Seven Counties clients. So I believe strongly in the work that we do. And as a product of the Jefferson County school system, myself, a graduate of Stewart High School back in 1980, and the father of a student at PRP right now. He's a freshman at Pleasant Ridge Park, another son who graduated from Manual 2 years ago. It just really is my honor tonight to present to you and Dr. Hensley and the rest of the school system, Dr. Hargens, the 2013 Sunrise Award for the work that you do to collaborate with us to further our mission. May I have the award for Dr. Hargens? You got it? All right, Dr. Hargens, it's all yours.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Dr. Hensley's here too.
Dr. Hensley, congratulations.
Dr. Hargens and members of the Jefferson County Board of Education, this concludes our recognitions for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. I would like to say that Board Member Jones is unable to be here tonight, so that's why I had the opportunity to present, be in the picture for some of the awards. So thank you for that opportunity. Is there a motion at this time to receive the recognitions? Ms. Duncan, second. Mr. Brady, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. At this time, we pause for a moment to dismiss for those who need to do homework, lesson plans, or just stop at Starbucks. So thank you so much and congratulations for all your achievements. Thank you for being here tonight. We're going to move on with the agenda. The next item on our agenda is the report from Dr. Hargens, the superintendent's report. Dr. Hargens.
Thank you, Chair Porter. Members of the board, it's my pleasure to call to your attention a few items of special interest. First, I would like to congratulate Carter Traditional Elementary School for receiving a Tell Kentucky Winners Circle Award. Schools were selected for outstanding teaching conditions based on their Tell survey results, student achievement data, school safety, and other criteria. Pictured there are, of course, Commissioner Terry Holliday, teachers Ellen Glazier, Sarah Cooper, Amy Hinton, and Principal Michael Alexander. So congratulations to Carter Traditional. In September 2013, Louisville Linked served 5,839 students in 1 month, and in October, 12,863 students were served. So that's an amazing amount of support that is providing to students so that they can focus on achievement. And we so much appreciate the recognition from 7 counties and Dr. Hensley's, Dr. Montgomery's, and Dr. Bartlett's hard work with Louisville Linked. I want to give a shout out to the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. It's really established to provide the superintendent in the district with student voice on key initiatives. The group is comprised of a representative from each of the district's high schools. The group meets with me throughout the school year, and each member can be invited to serve a 2 or 3 year term. And actually, they are posted in front of you, but they're also on the superintendent's website. So more to come from the Superintendent's Advisory Council. Local General Electric GE has stepped up once again to support our students with the ongoing work of Debbie Anderson and Skill USA's national competition. It's returning to Louisville in 2015. GE wants to ramp up participation and interest and hopes to gain future skilled candidates for manufacturing jobs here in Louisville. GE has committed to supporting Iroquois and J-Town High Schools Skill USA programs for the 13-14 school year. So we're excited about that, and thank you, Ms. Anderson, for your hard work with that as well. Ms. Porter, at this time, I recommend the consent calendar for your consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Hargens. Before we go to the consent calendar, we have one tie bid. Ms. Haddad.
Okay. Item number 55 on bid ID number 681 for furniture, classroom and office, line item. And the item is awarded to John R. Green Company, doing business as Green Groups Enterprises.
Okay, thank you. Items on the consent calendar that need to be discussed further. Ms. Westland.
I'd like to bring down item L.
Ms. Duncan.
I was also just going to comment on L.
Other items from the consent calendar? Okay, we'll move on. We'll pull L down first for discussion. Ms. Westland?
Make sure I got the right one. My microphone keeps going on. The contracts that I wanted to talk about were the 3 with the Louisville Urban League, and I wanted to note the. That's not you, is it?
I was pest control, so I'm good.
Okay, no. I wanted to just maybe comment on and ask for some information. We have funded the Street Academy for 6 years, I think. And the last program review we have seen did not indicate any improvement in the achievement, no gains in achievement which is what we're looking for. And just being given a contract that asks for continuance of that without any plan in front of us on how we might be going to impact that. And I didn't look at the previous program reviews, but my understanding is that we haven't seen a lot of gains in the students that have come to the Street Academy. And it's not an inexpensive program. There are lots of programs in the district, lots of especially newer after-school programs or learning places. And I know that we are having pretty high expectations and requirements for money we're spending on programs to impact achievement, and we really want to see we're held accountable for not only the scores but the money we invest in programs, and so we need to be seeing gains. So I couldn't just, and I think there are others that would agree that we need to pull this back and look at it and know that we're putting some changes in place to do that, and I don't see anything. Ms. Duncan, did you want to go ahead and comment? It looks like we've got a group of people who are going to respond.
Well, I was just going to mention the fact that it's troubling to me that we can't get more kids to attend it. It's got great potential, and we see the worthwhile subjects, cultural history, the Tai Chi element, as well as the academic component. But we can't get enough kids to take part. It's feeling like it's difficult to justify the cost of the program. I mean, $96,000 this past year, and I think next year we're looking at $118,000, and we're employing 16 adults to be able to serve up to 80 kids. But when only 47 post what we call regular attendance, and regular attendance is 9 out of 22 sessions, it really raises some questions for us. And I think what we're looking for tonight is what's going to be different. Why should we be investing $118,000 in this program for next year, or even the following after that, if we don't have some assurance or some plan for getting kids to take advantage of this?
I'll just follow up and say my preference would be to see a plan that we can look at. I know you all are going to tell us, but we'll see what you have to say.
First of all, one of the things that, and we agree there are some assurances, and Dewey and I have talked about with the superintendent, there are some assurances that need to be put in place. The attendance part of it, and you all met Charles Davis earlier this morning, or earlier this afternoon. As far as the attendance part, Charles Davis is the coordinator of diversity, equity, and poverty now, and he will look into that part of it to make sure we get more kids to attend the programs. We have two sites. We have two sites, as you know, one at Portland, one at Rangeland. I think the Rangeland site had more of a challenge to get attendance there. Nonetheless, we do, and Dewey and I had talked about it, we do want more students in the program, and we do need to be more diligent in that. Charles Davis, he had to leave, but he has been charged with looking into the attendance part of it. Yes, it is a program that we believe could be brought to, could be improved upon, and it will be improved upon. And one of the things is definitely the attendance part of it. I don't know if Dr. Radowski was, well, I thought it was up here, but I'll pass it to Dewey to talk about some other parts of the program.
Yeah, I think you're very accurate. I think those are extremely, extremely fair questions. Do we believe that we can take and create partnerships with organizations around the needs of cohorts of kids and really support them? We believe we can do that. We haven't figured out how to do it as well as we need to with this particular program. We're looking at a two-pronged approach. One, really dealing with the attendance aspect of how we can try to put in place incentives that will get kids there and keep them engaged and get them coming on a much higher level than they presently do. Second, we've already put in place a nonfiction reading program. A nonfiction reading program that's around, it's called Presidents and Poets. It uses nonfiction to look at famed African-American writers and other leaders that enables the kids to learn a lot from that reading activity. We still know that we have to do a whole lot better than we're doing presently because we're not seeing the outcome for kids that we need, but it falls in our strategic plan of being able to create those partnerships in out-of-school time. So our challenge, which is a fair one, is to either begin to see those outcomes or reevaluate. And we've put in place the reading program, and we're really trying to see if we can figure out how to strengthen the teachers that are a part of that program. And then we will do another study to see if indeed we're getting any of those results. That it's very right for you to question us on that.
Well, we transport the students to these two programs, right? We have a bus, so that's an extra expense. Is that something we take on, and that's not reflected in the this contract amount?
Miller Transportation is who does the transporting. Kevin Garner, Kevin Garner can
Okay.
speak to it.
That's
But
all
Miller
right.
Transportation.
Yeah, okay. Is that part of this contract? Is that something that separate as part of the, no? It's included, okay, okay. Have you all, you're talking about the enhanced education, you're gonna work on that, you're gonna work on the partnerships, but they're not quite there yet.
Clearly, with the outcomes that we received, no, they aren't.
Mhm. Is that something, like I said, we've had the program here for a while, and we don't have a plan that tells us how we're going to make sure the money is going to be spent well. And I think we hold a lot of programs up to pretty high standards, and I don't think we're very always really equitable. We're pretty careful with money and where it goes, and I think we're being asked to invest before we have assurance of how we're going to make improvements. Because I know there are places that, and as you say, they need to. Go ahead, Bob.
Like, I agree with you that we hold programs to a very high standard. In talking to the main evaluator, Dr. Munoz, about this program, he feels that the program, although not meeting the results that we want, does benefit the kids, okay? And I asked him to give me some other evidence. So he went back to the start of the program, the first 3 classes, and like he looked, and 75% of the kids that participated in those first 3 classes, they're now on, they're on track still to like graduate. They haven't fallen off the track. Now people will say, well, gee, 75%, but that's one of the indicators. Once a kid gets off track, that's an indicator about dropouts. This particular group of kids, they have a lot of challenges, okay? And the question becomes, I guess we have three choices. We could continue doing what we're doing, we could stop what we're doing, or we could try to modify what we're doing. And our recommendation from Dr. Munoz is, let's get a set of assurances, especially around the attendance. The 9 figure that Mrs. Duncan spoke of earlier, we have research from some out-of-school time programs that basically say if we can get somebody to attend those kind of programs at least 8 times, so the standard's 9, at least 8 times, that does show a positive effect on some of the outcomes that we've been looking for. So we were looking at it, like if you look at the group that we have a smaller number that attend that 9 or more than the ones that don't. So we really have to get them there. If we can get them there, I think that this program will pay off. So.
Now I wonder if I'm sorry, Carol, just real quick. If we were to design a program to help these very kinds of students you're talking about, would we design it this way? Or are we're doing the same thing we've been doing? If we know we have a challenge and our good minds would get together and say, what do we need to do to help them? Is this what we do? Is this program what we would do? I don't know. I'm not going to make you answer that question.
Ms.
But
Haddad,
I don't know.
I think you were next.
As I understand, the program in Fayette County was modeled after this program, from what I understand. That is the minister and his wife, but they have taken it further. What we do, we get in a rut and stay there. We haven't carried it out further, where he has been very successful in working with these kids in Fayette County, because they said it started with the Street Academy, but he took it to the next step, and it just seems like we're staying in the same rut and not really looking how we can really do more for these kids. We talked about at the 4:30 session about how are we going to make it equitable, and this would be an opportunity
but we have to use it wisely. I mean, we tell our schools that. You got to be wise about how you spend your time with your kids. And I don't think, I think we just stopped in our foot tracks and didn't go any further with this, that it's going to be beneficial to kids. But we have to make it beneficial to the kids. I agree we ought to have a program in front of us of what we're going to do, but, I'm willing to listen.
Other comments? Mr. Brady?
So at this point, I'm trying to figure out, I don't hear any type of benchmarks being presented, nor do I hear anything as far as, I hear, yes, we want to improve, but I don't really see anywhere in here, and granted, I haven't taken a deep dive on this, but any actual benchmarks that say this has to be met before this type of payment comes out. And I hear that we really want to do that and we want to create a plan, but that planning process, especially at the particular outcomes that we've had so far, should come before this point where we're approving it. Right. I mean, I think the Louisville Urban League does incredible work for our community, but we have to be able to make our decisions based on data that shows that this program is working, or it already has a plan and this is what's going to change and this is how we're going to progress to get to here. I don't see any of that in this. I see another contract you have to approve. Can we maybe take this off and then you get us that information and then come back to us? Because then I would feel that I'm being more of a fiscal steward of the taxpayer's dollar, saying, yes, go forward with this now that you have a plan, and this is the definite benchmarks that we're going to use to be able to improve a program, as opposed to we're going to just continue on doing what we're doing.
Let me get your question answered. Ms. Miller, the question that Mr. Brady asked was, can we take this off? And I think I heard you say come back with a more completed proposal. Is that what you requested?
I'd like to vote for this as long as we have a plan with measurable outcomes and benchmarks already, that will be a part of what's being presented here. That's what I would like to see. I don't want to say no to it, but I think there has to be more to it than just, hey, sign off on this so we can do the same thing again next year.
I agree. Ms. Miller?
Yes. Either the administration can withdraw it or the board can seek to revise the motion to cover only those contracts, the other contracts on the agenda.
Ms. Westland?
Well, I don't know if you were about to withdraw, but I would move that we take these contracts off the agenda for further review and to come back to us next board meeting or whenever you're ready and have a program that really is going to address the weaknesses and well, I guess more proactively address the needs of the students and the kinds of students you're wanting to serve.
Any comments, Dr. Harkins?
That's agreeable to us. The only thing about waiting 2 weeks is that, and again, we would be bringing it back on November 11th, is we're well into the school year. So, and we certainly can do that. What I'm hearing from the staff members here is assurances that efforts will be taken, additional efforts to make sure that more students benefit from the program. That we will look at academics again, even though Ms. Peabody did work to create a curriculum around literacy that engaged the students. And then also, I think what we need to do is halfway through the program, and I think it's 20, how many sessions? 22 sessions is halfway through, give kind of an update of where we are and what the attendance is looking like. So I'm hearing those assurances. So if we withdraw it, we bring it back on November 11th. That means the first session would start after that. So, but we can do that and put what I've just described in writing. And then if it was approved, the first session would start in November.
Yeah, I move that we take it off and bring it back. And I know it's a tight thing, but we can't be told we have a tight timeline, and that's why you need to approve it. It needs to be a good plan. It's not a new program. It's a program that's been running, and we need to make sure it's successful, and we need to make sure we have what we need to spend the money.
All right, is the motion to remove the Street Academy contract only because there are other contracts there from the Urban League? So are you making the recommendation that the Street Academy contracts, which would include Portland and Rangeland Elementary. Is that the recommendation you're making?
Yeah, I must say, I don't know enough about the parent leadership one. I didn't look as hard at that, so I would just go with whatever people think about that.
And I think, Ms. Duncan, are you seconding that motion? I want to make a few comments before we take a vote. I want to make the comments. I abstain from the vote for a reason, because I currently serve on the Urban League board. I understand the importance of programs like this. We had a work session today that showed us the importance of programs, but I also understand the importance of accountability. So what I hear you say is that the staff will come back to us, but I will know that when you come back to us, that you give us a history of the Street Academy dating back to Dr. Joe McMillan and how this program started, and how it has always been at, typically been at one school, and we decided to expand it to 2 schools, hence the increase in the price of the request for the contract. But when that comes back, it would be helpful if we had more information. So it is important that we provide programming to students. I cannot vote. I am abstaining from the vote, period, because even with this motion that Ms. Westland has made and Ms. Duncan has seconded, because I currently serve on the board of the Urban League. But I do want to say, I think I can do this without voting, the importance of all programs for students, and also in talking with the superintendent that we develop a template for all contracts that come to the board that has sign off by everybody, so that we are consistent with what we're asking for all of the contracts that come to the board. So currently there's a motion to remove the contracts, which are 2 contracts that deal with the Street Academy from the Louisville Urban League, with the understanding that it will come back to the board at the November 11th meeting. That's the motion, a motion and a second by Ms. Duncan.
Yeah, I have one thing I'd like to say too before we do this. And you know, I don't think this program has included the principals or some way the school has made a tie to the school that recommends the students attend. And maybe that might be a way to get at attendance some way, if a discussion, if you talk to the principals and see what kinds of connections you can make to their classes that they're in, or something that really drives an incentive for attendance at this, because it is to help them, and we want it to help them, but we want them to see how it helps them all up and down the line, not just on Saturday, but then when during the week. So I just would ask that you be sure and talk to the principals about that and see how you can.
And when you come back, would you give us the number of schools that have been served thus far? Because it's not just students from Portland and Rangeland. The students come from various schools. So if we could have a list of the past 2 years where the students have been selected from, so we get an idea of the students that are served. Any other questions or discussion? There's a motion and a second to remove the Street Academy contracts, with the understanding it will come back to the board on November the 11th. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by raising your hand. The motion is unanimous, and please record that I have abstained from the vote. Any other questions as it pertains to that? Thank you very much. We'll get back to the consent calendar. The only item that was asked to be pulled down was item L. There are other contracts in L, so what we need is a motion to vote on the consent calendar minus the contracts from the Urban League, except if there's another Urban League contract under L, I will have to abstain from that vote as well. Mr. Hadaway, motion to approve the consent calendar. Is there a second? Ms. Haddad? All those in favor? I vote for the consent calendar, but I do abstain for the final contract for the Parent Leadership Academy from the Urban League. Motion passes. Thank you. Our action item for the evening is the approval of the joint commitment to improve education outcomes. Dr. Hargens.
Thank you, Chair Porter. What this commitment does is actually just frame the partnership that we already have with Metro Government, the partnership between Metro Government and JCPS. And it includes putting structure like regular cabinet meetings between Metro Cabinet and JCPS Cabinet. And also to jointly come to the board with a report. So it includes the things that we've already been doing, like kindergarten countdown, close the deal, 55,000 degrees, the Kentucky Science Center, enrichment programs, school at the zoo, neighborhood place, community centers. So all of those partnerships, all this does is frame that as a commitment, and also a commitment to look at other opportunities where we can work together. There was a correction made in the commitment. At the very bottom of the page, it should read, while JCPS is governed by an elected school board. So it's the revision that you got in your red folder says elected school board. But again, it just codifies the partnership that we already have with Metro government.
Ms. Duncan?
Dr. Harkins, you know, the commitment, the joint commitment, I understand the middle one, the one where they jointly support our effort to make everybody college and career ready and prepare for post-secondary. I don't understand what their role is in kindergarten readiness, and I don't understand what even our role is in the completing degree part of this. How we work with them to help people complete degrees, because it's about trying to get them all the way through, not just graduating from high school, but all the way through. So is there any way that you can help me understand what their commitment looks like to kindergarten readiness, and what their commitment and what our commitment is to completing degrees?
Absolutely. The best example is kindergarten countdown, where parents in the summer before their kindergarten are rallied to make sure that their students are ready for kindergarten. And at Slugger Field, I throw out the first pitch, which is never pretty, with kindergartners invited, and as well as the mayor, to just say that it's important to get ready for kindergarten. And then, if you might remember, the Science Center, it's now called the Kentucky Science Center, really has a focus on early childhood and activities within the Center for Early Childhood. On the other end, Kentuckiana Works and the Career Center really helps with the other end of the spectrum and making sure that people get jobs. And then, of course, Summer Works, which is about jobs for teens and getting people ready for the workforce. So it really spans, the partnership spans the whole continuum, and really it just explains that.
Have there been any discussions about what their commitment might be to make education or post-secondary education more affordable or more accessible to kids? I mean, to me, they have a role in trying to figure out how we can make it more affordable for people to pursue that college education or post-secondary education.
Well, and I think what this does is, like I said, codify what already is with the potential of what could be, and that as a possible idea. So it's really, as someone new to Louisville, lots of wonderful things are going on, but it never was really explained in a way that connected it all. But again, it's building on the foundation of whatever it is, but you have to make explicit what is before you can look at what's possible.
Okay, well, I understand that. Thank you.
Ms. Westland?
Just a couple quick questions. Dr. Harkins, when I read through this a few times, and you and I visited, and I know it's not meant this way, but it says Louisville Metro Government and JCPS have joined forces to create a mutually accountable partnership. Accountability for us, it means something, and I want to make sure you just explain how accountability works. You're just talking about working together.
Right, the accountability partners are accountable for certain things in a partnership, so it's accountability in the partnership.
Not like you're going to be accountable to the city, or the city's going to come and help us take credit for test scores or anything like that.
That's correct.
We still have our roles. Can you tell us just the next steps on your partnership, what's coming up?
Well, actually, again, it's to have regular meetings with the cabinets and look for opportunities where we can build on the foundation that's already been a great foundation in place before I've gotten here. to see what are the new opportunities out there. And also to look at this in the, how many schools get close the deal, how many kids are impacted by that, so we can bring reports back to this board about the impact of that partnership. So it's also looking at the impact.
Ms. Haddad.
I know at the early childhood dedication, the mayor also talked about helping us with getting our early childhood off the ground that we're interested in the early childhood programs.
Well, and one of the things is the readiness wheel is really powerful, and that was designed by people in our department. When we all work together, we can make sure that everybody pays attention to that, and everybody's talking the same language about what it means to be ready for kindergarten. So it's going to be everybody's job to make sure that every parent and every provider knows what it means to be ready.
And the only other thing I'd like to say, I think in this community we're very, very fortunate to have a community who really cares about the schools, and I think you've opened the door to more businesses and community members, and we have one here tonight, Mr. Jim Allen, who's very helpful to us. But the doors are opening so that we're going to have more opportunities for our kids, and the mayor is really working with us. So I think it's a new day, and there's a lot of great things ahead for us.
Any other questions or discussion? Is there a motion to approve the joint commitment? Mr. Brady, second. Mr. Hathaway, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to the agenda, the discussion item for this evening is the report on the 5-star schools, professional career themes, and career technical education programs. Dr. Harkins.
Thank you, Chair Porter. And I'm going to turn it quickly over to Dr. Hensley. And this is another great example of what can be accomplished when you get community forces together. So the 5-star high school, and I know Dr. Hensley is going to describe it, is a way to make learning relevant. Our mission is instruction that inspires students to learn. And nothing inspires students to learn more than making the learning relevant to something that is interesting to them. So that is really the big picture of why 5-star design schools. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Hensley.
Thank you, Dr. Harkins, Ms. Porter, and the rest of the board. Thank you for the opportunity today to talk to you about our 5-star schools. I'd like to take just a moment and ask my colleagues here to introduce themselves if they could.
Ken Talley, Director of CTE.
Dana Shoemake, Coordinator of Business Partnerships.
And Debbie Anderson, Career Things Specialist for Engineering.
Jim Allen, Chairman of the Jefferson County Public Education Foundation.
And indeed, we are attempting to put kids on relevant pathways that lead them to college and career readiness and beyond. So what we're providing you today is an overview of our 5-star schools and exactly how our CTE program works. So I'm going to turn it over, I think, Ken, are you first? To Ken Talley.
As many of you know, the 5-star school initiative is how we have been implementing the high school-based reform that is based on the recommendations of the CTE task force that met in 2008. The task force met under the direction of the high school division and the director of CTE at the time was Ms. Diane Porter, who was collaborating mainly with Dr. Brian Shoemake, high school liaison, and the task force chair, Mr. Aldwin Helton. The complete report is on the district website. The first task force recommendation was for us to provide equal access to quality programs throughout the district.
Ken, would you mind using your microphone, please? It's the only way we can get it recorded. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
The first task force recommendation was to provide equal access to the quality programs throughout the district. We did this by dividing the district up into the networks you see on the slide to provide equal access. Within each network, we focused on 5 professional career themes, which, as you can see on the slide, but also on the next slide, it explains the breadth of the programs we have across the district. We call these professional career theme schools. The slide also shows our post-secondary partner. If you'll go back to the previous slide, I apologize. Our post-secondary partners are up in the top right, and we'll show this to you in the booklet here shortly. As well as the original magnet schools and the Western Early
college, high school. Our 5 themes are now serving more than 19,000 high school students in our 15 comprehensive high schools. This shows the range of our programs in the various schools. We currently have 196 academic and career majors, including 109 CTE programs. So as you can see, the 5-star model is much larger than just the CTE programs. However, they form the nucleus around which we built each theme within the comprehensive high schools. The 5 theme specialists working out of the CTE department recruited business, labor, industry, and community partners to help build these professional career themes. I'd like to recognize the specialists that are with us today. One of ours, Human Services, Education, and International Studies, Diane McKenzie, is in Guatemala with her mom at the moment on a family matter. On the front row here, we have your left to right, we have Medicine, Health, and Environment, Peggy Williford. We also have Communications, Media, and the Arts, Nichelle Anthony. And we have Business and Information Technology, Ryan Deal. And you've already met Debbie Anderson, who handles engineering, which includes construction, aerospace, and manufacturing. So these are the folks that, working out of the CTE department, went out there and recruited business, labor, industry, and post-secondary partners to help us build these professional career themes. And I want to recognize them as well. I wish I could list them, but it's more than we can do at the moment. These partners now serve on our partnership councils and working on our program committees, advising teachers, advising us, and ultimately advising the Board of Education. They are now helping to not only support but to manage these programs as we have formed executive committees on each of the councils. I'd refer you to the middle school guide, which many of you have seen already. This is the middle school students' guide to professional career themes and CTE programs. It's a very popular book, and I'd also like to recognize the fact that it was written by Ms. Porter's department. And also, I would like to recognize Heather Gray, who is this working? Mm-hmm. Okay, because I'm getting feedback on it. Heather Gray, who is the resource teacher who goes out with our individual learning plans. The idea is that a middle school student will complete, starting in the 6th grade, an individual learning plan. And this guides them through that process along with the career cruising software that the state provides us. So they make their decision, hopefully, ideally, based upon their career interest, not just on where perhaps their boyfriend or girlfriend is attending or where they want to attend based upon other issues. They progress through a freshman academy, then through a career-themed school of study to a credentialed diploma, and this is something unique to the 5-star schools. And this might be either college credit or an industry certificate. The next slide would show that to implement the task force's recommendation, the task force under Diane Porter went out and visited several of the programs that are similar to what we were trying to do with the task force recommendations nationwide, and have found the Forward NGL model. Dana Shoemake, Coordinator of Business Partnerships and Liaison with the Jefferson County Educational Foundation, will now address the Forward NGL model and our actions to date.
Thanks, Ken. The beginnings of the JCPS Forward NGL work started in July 2012, when JCPS leaders convened with the community leaders and Forward NGL coaches. Because of the foundational work already started by JCPS and the 5-star schools, the partnership with Forward NGO was a logical next step to expand and improve with existing professional career theme structure. And then in the spring 2013, JCPS announced an existing partnership with Forward Next Generation Learning. With the expertise of the Forward NGL staff coupled with the leadership of JCPS and community leaders, tactics for strengthening student and teacher experiences, and skills to the business community partnerships have been developed. These tactics are focusing on deepening instruction and providing real-world learning experiences for students at our 5-star high schools. A group of approximately 70 diverse business, civic, and education stakeholders have served on 3-strand plan writing teams to debate, agree upon, and write a 3-year master plan. Individuals representing the for-profit sector, higher education, nonprofit organization, and other civic leaders have collaborated to create the plan. As you can see, the strands are transforming teaching and learning, redesigning high schools, and sustaining change through business and civic leaderships. For the 2013-14 school year, we have 9 schools piloting 7 recommendations from 3 of the strands. Strand 1, the recommendation was to work on teacher externships. In Strand 2, they recommended working on strengthening the IOP, making it a more relevant document, especially for our middle school students, working on cohort scheduling, and working on some evaluation of academy effectiveness and student success. In Strand 3, the recommendations were to work on a local marketing plan, a community buy-in and protection, to work on a CEO, and for that we would have a CEO advisory board, and then celebrate the success for our academies with students and teachers. And for that, we've really worked on our externship this summer, our externship program, and our CEO advisory board. And Debbie Anderson is going to tell you about our teacher externship this program.
Well, out of Strand 1, the number 1 strategy that came out of our Transforming Teaching and Learning Committee was around creating externship experiences for our teachers, because we believe that to improve student engagement in our career-themed schools, it was vital that the teachers had to have more knowledge about the workplace and know the specific ways that their content could be applied to real-world applications. So we needed to make that experience happen, and we've got a video clip in our PowerPoint.
They can see that aluminum is different from steel.
The externship process is really about taking a team of teachers, taking them out to business. They're working with business, so there's that collaboration to develop lessons and instructional units of study to bring back to their students.
I was really able to see the entire process and how standards and processes are very important.
The cylinder heads are mounted on here, and it places it back on the student. They're responsible for not just the classroom, but they're responsible for each other, and they're responsible for this huge project that spans all different disciplines and really is more reflective of what the world actually looks like.
It's incredibly rewarding to know that we can have a hand in shaping that future.
Students are going to have the relevance of instruction, and they won't have that, why do I need to know this?
Well, what you saw was just a clip of some of the most exciting things that I have been a part of in education, but what happened over the month of June here in JCPS and in our community. But we engaged 15 of our business partners along with 45 teachers from 9 high schools who spent a week together in a business to learn real-world applications and to develop a relationship with a business partner that would extend long beyond that 1-week experience. So at the end of the week, the teachers were asked to plan projects. They had to create assignments. They were asked to create things that they would actually promise to implement in their classrooms for the next school year. And the teachers were specifically asked to engage those business partners throughout the school year as well. The feedback and the results from the externship were really more than we could have hoped for when we began planning this process. The academic teachers were thrilled to find new ways to teach their concepts, and they were amazed at the applications that could be found in some of the most unlikely places within industries that they had not thought of before. One nice thing to be able to update you on is that 2 weeks ago we reconvened these 45 teachers to see how things were going and asked them to give us feedback, and we were able to collect evidence that all teachers were using what they had learned through their externship experience in some way. So in some way, some more than others, but there was an impact happening for the student in the classroom, and it was changing the way teachers were teaching concepts in their classroom. And I've actually witnessed a chemistry teacher and a welding teacher addressing a business and industry group since then, and actually hearing a chemistry teacher talk welding with great ease and getting very comfortable with that. So none of this work would be possible without our commitment from our business and industry partners, and Mr. Allen's going to address that.
Great. Thank you very much, Debbie. Thank you all for the opportunity. And one of the great byproducts, I think, of this whole initiative is to engage the community to a larger degree. We will assemble ultimately an advisory board that will ultimately have about 30 business leaders to oversee, use their experience and wisdom and knowledge to provide advice as we go forward, but also to advocate on behalf of this program and to really shine the light on some of the great work that's being done within the school system as it relates to this initiative in particular with the community. So excited to do that. Have approximately 10 yeses as we speak, and should start that process with about 15 board members. And we hope to have that accomplished by about mid-November.
As you can see, we have the next steps as we continue with our five-star work and our NGL work. We are crafting the master plan as we speak daily. And November, as Mr. Allen said, we will have hopefully about a 15-board advisory board. And in December, we would like to come back and be able to present the master plan to you guys for approval, we hope. And then in early 2014, Ford would come back and designate us. We'd be the 18th community to be a Ford NGL community. And then the start of the 2014-15 school year, all of our five-star high schools, all 15, would be participating in the Ford work.
So the end result of this will be that students have pathways to success. It puts them on real, authentic opportunities for them to make real choices and be not only engaged in the work, but invested in the work. And we feel that this is going to be important, this project-based learning, where kids engage collaboratively in real work to produce real products and have real connections to what they do, is going to be powerful. And it'll be most powerful for some of the students that we talked about earlier today in the work session. Students that might feel disengaged or might be disenfranchised to some degree, because we can engage them in such relevant work that they will want to be a part of it. And as we move to the compulsory age, where we will have 16 through 18-year-olds in our school district who in the past we may have lost, now we have an opportunity to really meet their needs and really utilize our CTE programs to put those kids on the right pathway. So I'd like to thank my team. I'd like to thank Mr. Allen for being here, and we would certainly accept any questions or any clarifications you would like.
Mr. Hadaway.
I don't know that I have a question. I just want to say I'm a big fan, five-star. I have seen it in action. It is engaging. It is relevant. And I have seen students very enthusiastic about their learning because of the five-star program. I've seen it really elevate some students. I'm excited about the business sector being a big component here and these externships. Mr. Allen, I appreciate your leadership for sure. The only concern that I have, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you how much a fan I am first. Every time I go to speak somewhere, I take 2 documents with me to hand out. I hand out the five-star one sheet, and I hand out our Vision 2015 statement. And what I have found out several times when I'm out is there are a number of people that do not know about these programs. So I'm very happy to hear about advocacy is going to be part of your members' responsibility. And I would just ask that you include that, Ms. Shoemate, in the next steps to let us know how you're going to spread the word a little bit more, because it's a treasure right now that some people have to find, and I would like to show it a little brighter for them. So.
Thank you.
That's a great point, and one that we wholeheartedly agree with. And in fact, the foundation is really part of our goal this year is to expose what's going on in the schools beyond five-star schools, to include, but even beyond that, to the community. So.
Fantastic.
You know, my own daughter was surprised at Showcase by the options and programs that she saw on display even at the middle school level, because she was looking for, we're looking for that for my grandson. And she was so excited about it. She and her husband both were very excited about these options that are there, but people don't know about these things beyond going to Showcase. So I'm also very excited about the fact that there may be a way to promote these, and that people are getting together to talk about how to promote these. That's what I was going to ask about. Do you have community projects in place at each one of these schools so that the community can drive by and say, oh, well, that's a thing that school is working on, just like at Iroquois High School with the amphitheater? I mean, to me, that vision should be about every school having something that the community can see it's working on and producing kids who will be adults and pursuing careers in that area. But the thing that triggered all of this discussion several years ago was about what our career programs looked like at the time. Who was involved in our career tech programs? And I remember distinctly, they looked like, a lot of them looked like boys' clubs. They did not look like everybody that we had attending school. So I just, so along the way, I'd like for us to know who is actually receiving certifications in these programs across the groups that we serve. I mean, who is really getting to take part in these? Because I certainly don't want something that at the end of the day looks like only certain groups are being served. I mean, we want every kid from every group to have access to these programs. That was another question I wanted to ask. Do we at every high school, when kids go into the high school, are all kids assigned or enrolled in one of the programs that they've chosen that school to attend? Is there any way that a kid can go through one of our high schools now and escape one of these programs?
I don't believe they can escape being aware of it. But as far as being required to enroll in, they can be required to be in one of the schools of study because those should encompass the entire student body. However, actually being enrolled in one of our CTE programs or one of our career theme magnet programs, that's another issue. I can't say there's 100% fidelity in that regard.
See, that was what troubled me so much before when I saw kids who would go through school, all through high school, and they managed to avoid the very things that were going to help them get those hands-on experiences and help them post-secondary. So I just hope there's some way we can really be aggressive about getting kids enrolled in these programs. And I had another question about mentoring. As far as you all know, do we have mentoring going on where the business community, people who are actually in the industry, are mentoring with students who are in our buildings? Do we have anything going on with that?
We have a great example with mentoring with architecture, construction, and engineering mentors known as ACE Mentors. They run an after-school program in 3 of our high schools and looking to expand. So they're a great partner in that regard. And we have a great number of manufacturers who have stepped up to the plate recently because of the lack of skills that they're finding in people. They're wanting to reach down into the high school, so we find a lot more manufacturers and engineers who are working with individual classes.
That's tremendous. I just think getting that firsthand voice in there with the kids who are imagining themselves doing this work is just so important.
Ms.
Thank you
Haddad,
all.
I'm sorry, Ms. Haddad.
Yeah. Our trip to Nashville was an eye-opener for me because we had talked about it, but we had not really talked about it. And when we got in there, we saw we were doing as much or more than some of these other schools were doing that are bringing people in to brag about. So I said, well, we need to start getting out there and bragging about what we're doing because we're doing more than some of those schools are, especially with the community. I didn't see near the community involvement at these schools that I see with Jim and all the people he's getting. And another concern is they keep talking about vocational schools. People still think about the old vocational schools. This has taken their place. Some way we need to say these are the old vocational schools, only better. They are career technical schools. And we need to get that word out because we're not doing it because we always hear people say, oh, if they only had vocational schools. And I think a way at the the high school, Linda was asking about getting them involved. If we get them down at the middle school, then they will, when they get ready to register for high school, they will look for some of those programs and say, I saw engineering, I saw healthcare, and then they will sign up for that school. So I think down the road that's going to be part of our of what we can do is in the middle school to get them interested, and then they'll go look at a school that has the program. So
we've actually written lesson unit plans, several lessons each, starting in 6th grade and taking them through this booklet and through the career cruising software. And so we just fielded the 6th grade last year. So we have 6th, 7th, and 8th in place now. And Heather Gray and some folks are going around and visiting each school and achieving good percentages of students as far as who's completed their ILPs. And that's one way that perhaps you all could help too as you're out visiting schools. Ask them, what's on your ILP? And if they don't know what the ILP is, ask them about career cruising.
then we know they're not there, right?
Do you remember career cruising? Because they love that software.
Yeah.
And state really does us a great service in that regard.
Yeah, and that's in the middle schools.
It's in the middle schools now.
Yeah.
And we're piloting a program in 5 of our middle schools with JA. JA, It's My Future, that lends right into this, thinking about potential careers. So that will help them when they go to look at their high schools.
Right.
So depending on the feedback that we get from our middle schools, then we're going to expand it to all the middle schools with JA.
Yeah, well, you know, JA has that wonderful program. Are they changing any of the things they're doing to tie in with these things?
Yes.
Because that's when the elementary and the middle school kids go down there.
JA and Deborah's a wonderful partner.
Yeah.
We are trying to look at, in Finance Park, when the 7th graders go through, one of their units or sections would be something that they could tie back to their ILP and career cruising. So we are discussing how can we put that in as a part of the day. So.
And of course, having Ford is really wonderful, and appreciate all the work you're doing with them, and keep that up so we can get these kids where they need to be. So.
We've been very fortunate.
To your point, Ford is clearly a great resource for us. They've got experience, as we've acknowledged, with 17 other cities. But I think Ford also looks at JCPS as having all the ingredients to being incredibly successful. And so while we took the visit to Nashville and got to see what was going on as they exposed Nashville to a number of other prospective communities, I think they look at Louisville as having that future potential. Again, they've been extremely impressed with the level of cooperation, collaboration, and interest that we've generated in this community. So I think there's an exciting future and partnership that actually goes both ways with Ford.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you all. Keep up the good work. This is one of our big rocks we talk about, and that's reason I thought it was important to have it on the agenda because we talk about having them, but like I said, it woke me up when I went down to Nashville when I saw that they thought they were doing so much more than we are. They're doing a little bit, but nothing like we are. And so I think everybody needs to know. We need to get the word out to the public. And I said, oh, we have an early childhood pamphlet. And he said, well, I've got 2 of these. So it was really good. So we need to keep doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Westland.
Just a couple of quick comments. This is something obviously we started a few years ago, and it's an example of sticking with something. It had a really good foundation. Ms. Porter, you were involved in that. I understand. You keep being called that. That's good. But it's something we haven't dropped, and we're building on it now. We've added the Ford thing in, so that's really, really great. Also just wanted to call out, we have the communications and business and the healthcare person here, but I watch Kids Now, you know, the video that we do about JCPS, and it's always so great to see the students that are in the communications area, and they're such good MCs, such good announcers, and I know Ben works with them, and they do a really good job. And that's a really great example of how they're using their skills. And also just that Eastern's had such a great business IT program for a long time. So it's nice to see you here, and I'm proud of that program as well. So thank you all very much. Yes, Ken, go right ahead.
I have to interject here that if
Please.
Diane McKenzie were here, she'd be jumping up and down to tell you about her kids that are on the billboard on I-65 going downtown. That's from the FFA group there, and it's one of those programs that we have that draws from across the district.
Yeah.
And it's a standalone program. There's not another one like it, and that's the Senecas kids that are on that billboard.
Okay, there you go. You can just add to the list. Okay.
Mr. Brady.
To kind of piggyback on Member Westland's statements a little bit, and I think everyone up here provides such a vital role into our 5-star program, but one thing that's missing from the table, and it's just food for thought for the next time you come and talk to us, students. I like hearing the students' voice. I like hearing testimonials. I like hearing what the students think about the program, because this is what all this is about them. Nothing else matters. So in the future, when you come here, and not just this particular group, but a lot of our groups that come and present to us at the board, if we can have a student's perspective on this, I would love to hear what's going on at the healthcare side, taking healthcare and IT, combining those and finding out what's going on as a professional healthcare IT professional myself. I would like to hear what's going on in our schools regarding that, especially from communications, and what's going on at J-Town. Mr. Talley and I were over at NthWorks, and we saw those student testimonials, and we saw that what they were doing at NthWorks, and I think that goes a long way. But having them and having a student's voice here and hearing what they had to say, I think would not just inform our views here, because you're kind of preaching to the choir a little bit here, but to also those folks that might be watching this or listening to this home or watching it via streaming on the internet. I think that from a community perspective, we have part of our job here in these meetings is to educate, and I like to help with that education by getting the students' point of view in this. So just food for thought.
This is laying the foundation.
Right.
Just to piggyback on you, Mr. Brady, I agree. We agreed, and we discussed that. We thought we would run out of time, but for people watching the streaming and on TV, please come to the schools, because you can't get a better experience to see these students in the welding room, in the medical field. That's where you really see it. I mean, it's great to have the voice here, but part of all of you've said, we've got to get the word out. Call the schools, call you all, call us. We would love to take anybody on a tour to these schools, because that's where you see it. I mean, that's where you see it in action, and that's what we want to do. So I agree with you, but please call us. We'd be glad to take you to any of our schools.
Mr. Hadaway, and then Ms. Duncan.
Just real quick to add what Chris said, and Dr. Harkins can confirm this. In my community conversation, we had a group of students and an instructor, Jenny Hale, present what was going on at Valley in the 5-star, and it was the highlight of our conversation. And one reason that it was such a highlight is because we saw it in action. She had lined up 4, 5, 6 students or so. They shared what they did, and then the last person standing there was a graduate of the 5-star program who is now studying the same in their university. And it just really connected the dots for everybody that was there. So I'm with you on that for sure.
Ms. Duncan?
Well, and I know principals are getting creative out there. I know at Olmsted South, they're having a career fair, and they've invited students from the different career academies or career programs to come in and be the speakers to the kids as kids go around and talk with them. So the students in the programs will be the leaders in the career fairs. And I mean, all of this is just, it's just the way we need to be going. And I know I stopped at Valley on a drop-in tour. I got a drop-in tour by a student there who took me through the medical program, and I was just so excited by her excitement of the program, and it was very inspiring. And they're our best salespeople, that's for sure. But this is the way we need to be going. And but I am requesting that we get that breakdown of who is involved in these programs. I really would appreciate us getting a picture of who all is involved in these programs right now. Thank you.
I'd like to quickly thank everyone for allowing Ms. Haddad and I to attend the trip to Nashville, Tennessee. We saw 2 wonderful high schools that had over 1,000 students in each of the schools, and we were actually on 2 different teams, so she got to see 2, I got to see 2. But what I noticed the most was the student ambassadors, and I would ask us, we've talked about students several times tonight, that we look toward developing in our schools student ambassadors, because basically the students took us around and told us about the programs, and we all know that students are the best salespeople in town, and they did an excellent job, and they talked about how they selected where they were, how they rotated through the first year, and they had an opportunity to change their mind one time. So whenever I go to visit on a school visit, I always try to think of something that I won't even say that I'm shameless about it, steal it and bring it back if it's going to make us a better district. So I thank everyone for the opportunity to attend. It was wonderful to see the students. It was wonderful to see the programs. But what I was most impressed with was the student ambassadors who took the time to take the adults through the building, and they could tell us everything about what was going on in the school. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the update. And I think every day, it's like you say good morning, every day we have to say 5-star schools, because it's how do we get the word out in the community. And this is not a new topic of conversation. Having been there once upon a time, I know that every day we were trying to communicate that we do have these wonderful programs that once upon a time were housed in special buildings like Aaron's vocational school, but they are still alive and well in our high school. So thank you, Dr. Hensley, Dr. Talley, everyone for being on the panel and for all the hard work that you do every day. Are there any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to accept the report on the 5-star schools? Mr. Hathaway, second. Mr. Brady, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the planning calendar. Anything on the planning calendar? This is not the part about the board reports and requests. This is only the planning calendar. Any additions to the planning calendar for Dr. Hargins? Ms. Duncan?
No, we say so many things that we want a report on this, and we want an update on this, and that we're going to have, just like the joint commitment, we're going to be informed of that somewhere along the line. And then sometimes I don't know if we get it on there. So I know we heard that. We heard that an audit plan. We're supposed to have an annual audit plan, and that's supposed to be on the calendar. And Louisville Linked, the regular updates or regular information sessions on Louisville Linked, just like tonight. That was just a brief thing, but it's so helpful, so valuable to us to know the impact that program is having. And master plan, they said they're going to come up with a master plan for, I guess, that we're talking about in the CT program. So at some point, we'll need to hear about that. But it's, I know we say so many things. Oh, we want a report on that. We want an annual review of this. And then, wow, we just run out of space, I guess. But I do want to name those, because we've named them as saying that we're going to hear about them.
Anything else for the planning calendar? One of the things that, Mr. Brady?
Just one thing to put on the planning calendar, and as a direct result from the superintendent's report earlier today, is that rather than waiting maybe once a year, I'd really like to have dinner with your student advisory council at some point soon. We did that earlier this year, and it was a great dinner to hear those students, and it's something I think we should have at least once every semester, if you will. during the fall and in the spring. So just to kind of hear what they have to say, and then for them to give a chance to circle back and give us more feedback. So it's just something that it's not an official item, I guess, but something I'd like to have planned.
Wanted to speak briefly to the reports, and one of the things that Dr. Harkins has done with the planning calendar, she has listed the items that we asked for and assigned a staff person that's responsible for that information, and we're getting information two ways. We're getting it in a work session, at a board meeting, or in a Friday update. So although the list may seem long, we have worked to put the information various places so that it is coming to the board, and we're trying to be responsive to all the requests that you have made. So I hope that we're doing that, and if not, let us know. So is there a motion to receive the planning calendar with the noted changes, noted request? Motion, Mr. Brady, second. Ms. Haddad, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Now we're going to move down to board reports and requests, and then we have 10 people to address the board tonight. So board reports and requests, if we can do that quickly, because we have 10 people to report to. Mr. Brady?
Okay. Just a couple, first, just as far as reports go, I just want to give thanks real quick to the Kentucky Society of Technology and Education, or KISTE for short. I had an opportunity to attend their conference earlier this afternoon to hear about their Bring Your Own Device program and one-to-one programs, and just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be able to attend that. It was very informative. I also want to say thanks to GLI for having their elected officials dinner last week. I think that was also very important for a community perspective to be able to get into the room and talk to others, state representatives and senators about the priorities of what we're trying to accomplish here at JCPS. And also want to say thank you once again to staff and principal at Ramsey Middle School, as well as our administrative staff for their support and attendance in my community conversation. That was very helpful, and I do appreciate it, and I appreciate Dr. Harkins phoning in. I know you were out of town, and that was great of you. I do have one, I guess, request or issue, and that is that we fix these sound issues that we're having during our meeting, because they're very, very distracting, and that we have a thorough sound check or something before we start our board meeting. I understand there's feedback issues, and I was watching the video. I think the idea was to turn it up, but it went the other way, and I couldn't hear the end of it. So, and that's one of the, we're mandated by state law to make sure everyone can hear this and without real undue interruption. So, please try and work that out. I know we're tweaking it, but please try and work a little bit harder. Thank you.
Dr. Harkins, would you provide to the board a report, because I know we've added additional speakers and done some work since we made the request several meetings ago, but I think we had a twerks that happened this evening, and it seems that if the microphone is not exactly where it's supposed to be, we were getting feedback tonight, but it might be helpful for the board members to see what has been done as it pertains to sound in the auditorium. Ms. Westland?
Just a few quick things. Wanted to mention, because I was so impressed, about a week ago, I was talking to John Marshall about this, I visited the Bluegrass Challenge Academy, which is an alternative setting for high school students at Fort Knox. It's a program. There are about 100 around the country, and there are 2 in Kentucky, and they take high school students who are off track for a variety of reasons and into a 6-month program. I visited along with Jackie Wisman and Jerry Keepers and some of his staff. Someone from Lexington Martin Luther King High School was there, and we were given a tour by students. It is a very regimented program. There were about 30 students preparing to graduate this group, and I was interested in the JCPS students that were there. There were students representing a variety of high schools. There were 2 from Ballard, 2 from Eastern, a YPAS student from Valley, Iroquois, Liberty, Fern Creek, Jeffersontown, and then from some other counties. And the program they go through is a military style without the warrior training. They say there's not that part. But it's so structured, and the kids have time in a classroom to do either course recovery to get back into school or do a GED. But the structure is what, and we talked to the kids, Chris. The kids all came and sat, and we asked them questions. Of course, they've learned to stand up and put their hands behind their back and answer the question. There was a sergeant standing there. If they didn't do that, they did it the next time, because he would take one step forward and they would snap too, you know. And they didn't complain about that. People asked them, what is their biggest fear going back home? And one young man said, respect. My friends just don't respect. He said, I have some friends who are supporting me, but there are some that aren't, and they're going to be pushing me into going back into making some of the same mistakes I was making. So I just thought about those kids and the support they were getting there and how much they benefited from it. Up at 4:30, bed at 8:30, calisthenics first. It's just a real military regimented program, and it's the structure and discipline. And I just wanted to mention that worked really well. Our kids are benefiting from it. It's a free program, paid 3/4 by the National Guard and a fourth, I think that's right, by SEEK funding. So anyway, that was a great thing. I think we can learn something from that. And I know principals, I think John Marshall said he recommended students there once in a while, right? About once a year. One of those things we don't know much about. Saturday, I went to a meeting at KSBA. It was a legislative planning session with legislative liaisons, and we just had a little more of a conversation about the legislative agenda that they're going to take to their board, which Ms. Duncan will see. And of course, most of the discussion was about funding. So I just wanted to mention I did that. A couple of questions. One is, I've heard that there are some schools that are having trouble getting substitutes, and they may go through the day without having a substitute for a classroom. And I asked if this is something that a number of principals are seeing happen, and they said yes. So I just thought you might want to check with HR and see what the deal is with that. And that's it. Thanks.
Ms. Duncan?
This was one of those nights where we were going to be brief, but everybody has a lot, I think, to share. I know I took a trip up to Jefferson Memorial Forest with young elementary students, and we got to see in action that ECHO program, which is an environmental program tied to our science core standards, and watch the kids enjoy the learning in an outdoor environment. Also, I know we ended cross-country this past weekend with a state meet, but I just want to thank Craig Hammonds, who runs these cross-country meets for elementary schools. We've had a bunch of them, a whole bunch of them locally done this year, rather than where we've in the past have had to drive distances to get to them. And the participation from the elementary schools is just phenomenal. We were at Dixie Elementary the other night, and Stephen Howard, the principal there, was so gracious to let us inside after the meet for the awards program. It was pretty cold. And told me that they had 75 kids come out for cross country. You know, it's just a great participation sport for our elementary schools, and just builds such a sense of belonging for the kids at school. I was at Frost the other day for Making Connections, and where I get to talk with 7th graders, and I'll be there tomorrow. I won't be there, but I'll be at Olmsted North tomorrow to talk with 7th graders about what their plans are going forward, and what their interests are, and career paths, and those kinds of things. And then tomorrow, Mr. Brady and I are headed toward Elizabethtown for the regional meeting for KSBA. So we will carry the banner for the Jefferson County Board of Education. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to quickly recognize the fact that last week, Young Elementary is going through their IB evaluation. So I was there as the board member, and Kirk Lattimore was there as the area superintendent, and Janet Leitner. And 2 parents were on the team that we had an opportunity to speak with the evaluation team. It went very well. The IB program is alive and well at Young Elementary. We heard a little bit about it earlier in our work session. Also, at Englehart Elementary, I wanted to announce and to congratulate them on the professional learning community meeting that they had last week as well. And we were talking about working together with Metro Louisville. I had an opportunity to attend a dinner Saturday night, and Mayor Fisher was there. And when he made his comments, he did a request for people to sign up for Everyone Reads, which is JCPS, and he also spoke to the fact that the board has set aside the money from the fund balance for the extended learning. So I think that demonstrates working together with Metro Louisville and JCPS, so I just wanted to comment on that. Are there any other reports or requests? Okay, so we will move on to persons requesting to address the board on non-agenda items. There are 10 speakers tonight, and I will go through the format. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to address the board. You may address the board either here sitting down, or you may stand up and go to the podium, whichever is most comfortable for you. At the end of 2.5 minutes, a bell will sound once. You will then have 30 seconds to finish your statement. At the end of 3 minutes, the bell will sound twice, indicating that your time is up. We thank everyone who is here tonight to make a presentation to the board. Our first speaker is Rodney Reeves. Mr. Reeves, thank you for being here tonight.
Well, my name is Rodney Reeves. I was here last board meeting, October 14th, about a problem that I have at Valley High School. Excuse me. I just asked Ms. Smith if I could get some input from you all on what I had to say last board meeting, but she said I'd have to talk with Mr. Hadaway. So really I ain't got much to say today until I speak with him. But the thing with my son being supposedly under the influence, I talked to Dr. Dewey Hensley, and he wanted to tell me, prove to me that he was under the influence. Well, I asked him many times, prove to me that he wasn't, you know. I feel like my son wouldn't do something like that, but there's that 1% chance he would do, kids do dumb things. And to have my son walk home after I was told that his eyes were extremely bloodshot, his speech was slurred, and then to turn him loose because his mother said he's okay when she wouldn't, she's at work, she doesn't know. I'm going by what Assistant Principal Cindy Berger has told me and sent me a letter, I got a letter from Mr. Stevenson and Mrs. Berger. And Mr. Hensley telling me, well, prove to us that he was under the influence. Well, I'm going by what you all told me. And then to suspend him for 6 days, and then when they seen how upset I got about it, about, him being supposedly under the influence and told to walk home, because they said they took their finger and moved it in front of his face, watched his eyes and decided, well, he's not on anything. I can't understand how he can okay this, I don't know. Like I said, I need to speak with Mr. Hadaway because I'd like to hear what you all have to say.
Okay, Mr. Reeves, Mr. Hadaway can be available for you as we finish the meeting, or he can be available for you at another time. And typically we go to the board member, to Dr. Hargens, and to staff, and then someone makes a report back to us. So if Mr. Hadaway, you want to step away to speak with him now, if you want to wait until we have the other 9 speakers.
I can wait.
Okay, that's fine.
But, like I say, the being sent home, suspended for 6 days, and then when they seen how upset I was, it's all erased. I don't understand that.
Well, we appreciate you coming back, and we hope we are able to get it resolved to everyone's satisfaction. So thank you for being back tonight.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Brent McKim. Mr. McKim, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Chair Porter, members of the school board, Superintendent Hargens. I'm here tonight to talk about the plans that have been announced, or at least for consideration, at Shawnee and Frost on behalf of the Jefferson County Teachers Association. I want to begin by going back to an op-ed piece that the association had published back in April of this year that the Courier-Journal referred to as the game changers from JCTA. We made 6 recommendations, and the first one read, we should actually ask the teachers and principals in priority schools what they need in order to be successful. And the district, the union, and the state should commit to move heaven and earth to provide what the schools say they need. It goes on to say that this may seem obvious, but thus far this has not happened in any meaningful way in our priority schools. School reform is being imposed on them from above, with multiple parties sharing the responsibility for why. It's essential that we cut through this bureaucracy and actually listen to those in the schools who are closest to the children as we design and implement our improvement efforts. To accomplish this, a structured process with independent facilitators could be used. Sadly, unfortunately, I'm here to report that the JCTA staff and leadership has visited both Shawnee and Frost, and we've also surveyed our members there, and all of the teachers with whom we have spoken or heard by a survey have told us that they were not provided an opportunity to provide input into the thinking on what the possibilities could be for improving their schools. They weren't asked, what do you see as barriers? What suggestions do you have? How can we do this together? So we're very disappointed in that. And similarly, they tell us that they believe that other partners like parents and community stakeholders have not been included in the conversations either. So I have been active in JCTA since 1994, and I can say that I have never seen such a lack of stakeholder involvement as what we're seeing at these 2 schools in this planning. The results are you have plans that are not as good as they could be, and you have less buy-in and support for those plans. We want to take a moment to explicitly thank Board Member Haddad for suggesting that we might want to revisit this and bring all the stakeholders to the table, at least at Shawnee, and we would look forward to the opportunity to do that. We hope the administration will act on that recommendation to take a look with all the stakeholders at the table so that we can all together design and implement with great buy-in the best plans possible for these kids. Thanks.
Thank you. Our third speaker tonight is Miranda Montgomery. Ms. Montgomery, thank you for being here tonight.
I would just like to see ALICE training implemented in the JCPS schools. I actually had the opportunity to go through that training about 2 to 3 weeks ago at the expense of my employer. It stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. These can be used in any sequence. There's no certain sequence to use them in. And they actually have trainings that are geared towards kindergarten through 12th grade. I think it is a very good ideal to enhance the already lockdown procedures that are in place. I don't think lockdown is the only thing that actually should be implemented in case of an active shooter. I would like to see if I can schedule possibly a block of time to where I can have someone from the training, like the trainer, come and present something to you guys, because they know a whole lot more about it than I do.
Dr. Hargens will, she or staff will follow up with you. We have your phone number?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, we do. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight. Our next speaker is Gay Adelman. This is our fourth speaker, Gay Adelman.
Hi, my name is Gay Adelman. I'm the president of the PTSA and a mother of a sophomore at the Academy at Shawnee. And I do have a meeting scheduled with you tomorrow morning, Dr. Hargens, and I do appreciate that. I'm very much looking forward to discussing some ideas with you. But we had heard that there might be a vote taken during November meeting, and we wanted to make sure we had a chance to address the entire board before the vote. So that's why we are here tonight. And there's a number of Shawnee parents, students, staff, and faculty present. And we are concerned stakeholders, as was mentioned earlier. I want to tell you my story. We came here last summer from New Jersey to look at schools and neighborhoods. And my son Peyton was starting 9th grade, and it was a perfect time for him to move. We had no preconceived notions about any of the schools in the district, which turned out to be to our advantage. Upon researching all of the schools, we selected Shawnee for its aviation and ROTC programs, but we found much more. I found a school that helped me and my son through the transition, meeting his educational, social, and emotional needs. He's found friends, academic success, and a career track. As a parent, I've found room to be involved deeply, from the Challenger Center to the PTSA and as a ROTC booster mom, and now I aspire to be part of the SBDM. Through my involvement, I see this type of treatment isn't just for aviation students from St. Matthews. Rather, my roles in the building show me that many students and families experience what I have. And if this is the type of work being done, an environment created in a low-performing school, then explain to me again why overhaul is necessary. Again, didn't we just overhaul 4 years ago? I understand it is a low-performing school, but this school is not what it seems on the surface. There are many factors not being considered when labeling our school as low-performing. So if you look more closely, there may be other ways to do what is best for the students, and what is being proposed does not appear to be fully thought out. I am a Shawnee parent, and I am concerned. I am concerned that a change is even being suggested when we met our goals for the year and are finally progressing, that we stand to lose all the progress made over the last 4 years by tilling up the garden just when the sprouts are starting to appear. I am concerned that the changes to the schedule could put our signature aviation and ROTC programs at risk. We have the only NJ ROTC program in the district to win the Distinguished Unit Award last year. I'm concerned that the extended day is not optional, although some have we have spoken to seem to have gotten the impression that it was, that it could hinder our recruiting efforts while not doing anything to address the actual problem. I'm concerned that there is many different versions of the plan floating out there as there have been meetings, that many parents, especially high school families, have still not heard about this plan. I'm concerned that I can't get answers to emails, phone calls, a copy of the PowerPoint that was presented in the parent meetings, that there are no minutes from the work session, that there have been no posts to the website following the parent and staff meetings with answers to our questions or details about the changes to the plan, that people don't know how great the Academy at Shawnee actually is. My realtor actually tried to talk me out of sending my son there. I fired her. Why isn't more effort being done to change the perception of the school and to recruit more students into the magnet, which would also bring up our test scores and build the image of the school? I'm concerned the plan is out of touch with the demographics and circumstances that surround our school, and it was devised behind closed doors without research or input from stakeholders. Please come to our open house on November 5th and see what is actually going on at the Academy at Shawnee. We want you to go back to the drawing board, and this time we want a seat at the table. Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight. Our fifth speaker is Peyton Adelman. Peyton Adelman.
Good evening. My name is Peyton James Adelman, and I'm currently enrolled at the Academy at Shawnee. I live in St. Matthews, and I choose to go to this school because of the aviation and ROTC program. It's a great school, probably the best I've been to in my entire life. It's not really what most people think it is. It's actually really safe there. Some people have a misconception that it's not safe because of the neighborhood, which is just totally not true. There's something about the test scores being low, and I think that's because that there's not enough effort being put in by some of the students. And most of us, we do try. We are good students, and we put the effort in, and the problem is the lack of motivation. There's plenty of things that students can get involved with, but they just don't. Some of the students that when they come to the school, they just don't know how to read or write well. They just can't do it properly or just lacking in those fundamental skills. ISAP. There's something in our school called ISAP. It's the in-school suspension. And what it does is if someone gets in trouble, they get taken out of class for the whole day. And it's not after school. They do nothing in there. It's probably the worst part of the school. It's the worst idea, I think, that the schools came up with, to be honest. This proposal, it has things about some of our students being good students and maintaining straight A's, and they are going to be enveloped in this program with extended days. Why should they do that? That would just drive away the good students from attending this school. It's just kind of counterproductive, and I just don't believe that it will be good for recruiting more good students that are getting good grades and will do good on the ACT and the SAT. I just believe that this school has a lot of potential, and it should be recognized for that, and thank you.
Thank you, Peyton, for being here tonight. Our next speaker is Dwayne Haynes. Mr. Haynes, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Harkins, Ms. Porter, who I am familiar with and am friends with. I consider the board my friends. I'm familiar with some faces. Some of you are familiar with mine. My name is Dwayne Haynes. I'm a 1971 graduate of Shawnee. Spent 20 years, retired as captain of the Little Fire Department. In the 4 years I've been retired, I've been assistant football coach and track coach at my alma mater, Shawnee. For probably 5 years, I've been president of Shawnee's Alumni Association. And since about 2005, the Alumni Association became more active and worked in accordance with the school and with the board, and we've gotten things done at Shawnee. One of the things that I saw that was a deterrent at Shawnee was lack of continuity, the turnover of leadership there, principal from principal to coaches. No one was there in place long enough to make a difference. In the last 4 or 5 years, with Dr. Look being there, and I have to mention him, he's a friend, I've seen vast improvements. The coaching staff for the football teams been in place for about 4 years. We had a situation where we did good to get 20 students out for football, come out to be, and this year we had 40 students come out. So that's an improvement. In the last year, maybe two, our graduation rate has gone up. Our test scores have improved. Disciplinary actions have decreased. So there is improvement. I agree with what you say, Mr. Brady, and it was agreed upon when most of the board that just listen to the students. Come in and hear what they have to say. I'm here representing our community, representing the students and their families that attend our school and the teachers there, that we would like to be more involved with the decision making, with the planning. We'd like to know more about what you have in store for Shawnee and allow us to give our voice, and for you to hear our voice pertaining to the decisions that would be made that's going to affect their lives, our lives. Each morning, each afternoon, you see buses, loads of students from the West End being bussed out to Ballard, I do believe, maybe some other places. We'd love to keep some of those students here at home. We love to have some of the other students bussed in. But we're going to work with what we have, and we want to improve on that. We had a program I stood here with and realized that got approved for K through 12. We never saw its existence for various reasons. We have a program that was started, which we have 6th graders there that will become 7th graders, 8th graders, eventually leading to a middle school, which would be great for Shawnee. All those programs could possibly be jeopardized with this new. We want to know this. We just want to find out. So on behalf of the students that are there, the community, the alumni, just include us in on what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight, Mr. Haynes. Our next speaker is Major Stimley. Steinley, I'm sorry, Major Steinley. Thank you for being here tonight.
My name's Major Martin Steinley, United States Marine Corps retired. I'm the newly hired Senior Naval Science Instructor for the NGA ROTC at Shawnee. So the comments I'm going to give are based upon what I see, and I've talked to my higher headquarters in regards to Title 10, the contract that the Navy has with the school, and looking at the contract and the orders and how that fits into the proposal that I've seen. These are kind of go in reverse order of importance. First of all, we have drill team practice, rifle team practice goes on several times a week, almost every day. And I conduct drill team practice before school. Some of these kids get to school at 6:15 to start our drill practices at 6:30. Our rifle team practices at the end of the day. And our competitions also, we go to other schools in the district as well as Indiana, and most of those schools end the school day at 2:20-ish, and therefore they start their competitions at 3:30. So one consideration that must be taken into account is how the extra hour every day is going to affect our extracurricular activities. If we start eliminating some of those extracurricular activities, that's going to drive our enrollment down in the ROTC program. Number two, it appears that the proposal that I've seen is going to expand the school year on the calendar, when you count the front and back end, almost an extra month, 26 or so calendar days. What that does to myself and my Master Chief, that pushes us into a now 11-month contract from what I can tell on the number of days. So it just, if any change to our contract regarding pay and number of days and months, that also must be coordinated closely with the Navy. Because the Navy at this point, if you're familiar with the sequester and the cutting of programs and money, they are looking to actually cut 11-month and 12-month contracts across the nation down to 10-month contracts, which is where we currently are. So it just has to, you take that in consideration. Number three, the schedule that I have seen as far as the proposal, where kids will be into a Navy team A, and Navy meaning the color of the school, in gold team, and then the ROTC and PE and aviation, the other ones are considered in the golden team. It appears that I will get cadets for 2 weeks, and then I won't see that cadet again for a month. I cannot, and Ms. Westland's comments a few minutes ago were very timely. I was going to use a big term like prescient, but I can't pronounce it. So about having that consistency in the discipline, it's very hard to instill the discipline when I see a kid for 2 weeks and then I don't see that individual again for another month. It's just not going to stick. And that ties into my last point, and I'll hurry it up. The biggest one is that the Navy, the contract requires, the order requires 7,200 minutes of instruction in the ROTC programs. And my best calculus here appears that 7,200 minutes is not going to be realized under this new program if I'm seeing kids for 2 weeks and I don't see them again for a month. That is a program killer. If we don't have at least 7,200 minutes per naval science course per year, the Navy will look to move that program elsewhere. So I know my time is up, so I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for being here tonight. Our next speaker is Aaron Corbillo. Thank you for being here tonight.
All right. I am also a concerned Shawnee parent. I am most concerned about the inconsistencies and the lack of communication that has surrounded this plan. After having attended several meetings, I was shocked to see that what was presented to the board was different from what was being presented to the parents, which also varies from what was being presented to staff. If this plan is truly what the school needs, then why all the inconsistencies? Dr. Wheat had said at the last work session 2 weeks ago that for this plan to work, all 4 pieces have to be in place. However, the middle school is being exempted from the extended day because parents have complained. Therefore, by that logic, the rest of the plan is not going to be successful at the middle school level. To me, this says that the changes are based on politics and not education and data. Also, some of the statements that are being tossed around as facts supporting the change are questionable. For example, it was stated that the school has been stagnant for the last 5 years and that JCPS can no longer be complacent with that. Yet we have met all 5 goals last year. If the school was stagnant with poor leadership, then how did the school achieve these goals and move to a progressing status? The claims that are being made are not matching up with the data. Now, I will not argue that we are an underperforming school, and there are also many factors that affect this that are outside of the school's control. However, I would argue that we are the most exciting underperforming school in the nation. We were one of 8 schools selected in the nation to send an experiment on the second-to-last space shuttle mission. We received international coverage with the Challenger Learning Center partnership, and our site was just chosen to host the CLC International Convention for next year, 2014. In 2011, we received a visit from the U.S. Secretary of Education, Artie Duncan. I would guess probably one of the few visits JCPS schools had in the last 30 years. Our composite ACT score gains were twice the state average over the last 3 years. And the Freedom Writers selected 8 of our student authors to take part in the inaugural book from the Louisville Story Program. So I have a call to action for the board. If you're going to label us a priority school, then make our school a true priority in the district and not just give it lip service. Take this current plan off the table and start over with the stakeholders involved. This process needs to be transparent, and there needs to be much more honest and open communication. We need real, sustainable solutions that will work and the time to see it through, because we cannot accept a plan that is going to put us in the same position 3 years down the road. We cannot keep turning this school over. This school has so much raw potential, and if we have the opportunity to harness it in the right way, the Academy at Shawnee is going to become one of the best schools in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Missy Harrell. Harrell, I'm sorry. Ms. Harrell, thank you for being here tonight.
And I'm going to bring Cody Harrell with me, because Cody is a senior at the Academy at Shawnee right now. He carries a 4.0 grade point average. He has a 24 on his ACT, and this young man is a private pilot licensed. I went up with him not too long ago. I have something I'm supposed to read, but I'm kind of not going to go on that because Aaron touched on just about everything that this young man has done. This young man was one of the gentlemen that you all recognized his freshman year as being a part of that NASA space shuttle experiment. He is also one of the authors in the Louisville Story Program. So what I heard at the meeting that we went to a few weeks ago was that the students of Shawnee do not have opportunities. This is an opportunity. This young man is going to do things that kids at Manual, Ballard, Seneca, Male, Central are not going to do. Well, I know they don't. They don't fly. But some of the concerns that we do have, the program is implying that the staff and former principal have not been amazing at what they do. It's absolutely not true. He's a prime example of how they've come that far. That the 5 weeks on and the 1 week off plan could put the flight program and ROTC program at risk, and also takes away the consistency kids like ours crave. Here's one of the best points. Here's one of my biggest concerns, that it's experimental. We're using these kids as guinea pigs to see if a program's going to work. I sat 4 years ago and listened to a program, not similar, but a change in what was going to happen at the Academy at Shawnee. If it didn't work, why is this plan going to work? And no one can give us that answer. Another concern, that we're focused too much on teaching to the test instead of continuously failing based on ridiculous standard. Let's look at what will actually make these kids successful and teach that. That it's destroying the morale of the teachers, students, and parents today at the Academy at Shawnee. Many are making plans to find another school next year, and it is taking time and energy from getting stuff done. And I'll just quit on that. Like I said, I've got a list. But Cody did ask, because we didn't get him here on time, to be able to speak as well. He would like to speak to all of you or one of you, so that you could hear what he has to say as well. I mean, this is a really good representation of what is going on at the Academy at Shawnee.
I'm happy to stay after. I'm the board member that represents the Academy at Shawnee. I'm not saying that we don't want to hear you, but the process is you must sign up by 7 p.m. by the time the board meeting starts.
Right.
So I am available to stay after to listen, or you're more than welcome to come back to the next board meeting, which is November the 11th,
Okay.
whatever your preference is.
Thanks.
But
He was at
you.
an extracurricular activity
Yes,
at
ma'am.
the Academy at Shawnee.
Okay.
So-
Thank you for being here. Our last speaker for the night is it Janine or James Johnson? Johnson is the last name. Speaking about PLA, Janine or James Johnson? Okay. Not here. Thank you. That completes our speakers for tonight. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn for the evening. Ms. Haddad, seconded. Ms. Duncan, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.